Jenn Gotzon wanted to be an actress since she was a young girl. But after auditioning for her high school play, her drama teacher told her she had no talent and would never make it. Her parents also tried to steer her away from the treacherous and heartbreaking world of show business. Jenn prayed to God and asked for His guidance. She also secretly auditioned for the New York Conservatory for Dramatic Arts and won a scholarship. After graduating, she acted in independent films, and at film festivals around the country, she won 2 Best Actress Awards and a Rising Star Award. In 2008, Jenn was in Nixon, a film that was nominated for 5 Academy Awards. Since then, Jenn has had the lead in 9 feature films, including Doonby, God's Country, Alone Yet Not Alone, and I Am Gabriel. How does a small-town Pennsylvania gal make it to red carpet galas in Hollywood? And how has her religious faith influenced her career? Let's find out.
So I was born in Bethlehem, and that's not in a manger, and I grew up in Northampton, Pennsylvania, which was surrounded by cornfields on a base of a ski mountain, so that was a lot of fun.
Right.
Deer in the backyard, skiing on the weekends, and yeah, I was about like in 10th grade, I would go to the movies. So we had a sweet little movie theater at our hometown called the Roxy, and when the movie was really good, I'd walk out of that theater just being electrified. With a passion.
Paradiso kind of thing. Okay.
It's like a passion that's just so deep. So when I was a junior in high school, I tried out, and I think our Tom Sawyer, I think, is what the play was, and I was a townsperson. I called it a walking tree because you're literally like a walking tree. You say peas and carrots because you're in the background,
right,
and you're not allowed to talk because you would ruin the dialogue of the people in front of you. So literally, you're supposed to say peas and carrots quietly, right? And it looks like you're speaking. So that's the role I played.
Right.
And then the next year, I tried out for the lead, and my friends were really excited, saying, "Jenn, you did so good. You're going to make it." Right. Such a thing, mostly because my passion was to be able to act, and that's where I thought the next step was. And I came in that next day in my high school, where you have like those pieces of paper up with the names,
right,
and you know who's cast into what. And I looked at it, and I looked at the names of the leads, and my name wasn't there. And then I went down the page, and tears started to well in my eyes because I didn't even make any of the speaking roles.
You weren't even a peas or carrots girl.
No, that was the next page. So I was like, well, I didn't make the speaking role, so I'm going to be a peas and carrots girl. And I went on to that, and I looked down, and I didn't even make that list either. And I was a senior in high school, and I realized, okay, well, if this is a desire of mine, if I can't even make my high school play, maybe this isn't something I'm supposed to do. So I went to my drama teacher asking, well, what can I do to be better?
Right.
And what she said spoke right to my soul. And she goes, "Jenn, there are so many people out there that are better than you, and they have never made it.
Wow.
You're never going to make it either. This is something you should not do." And
it's harsh.
It was. I'm sure she didn't mean it mean.
Mm-hmm.
She probably was trying to be like, it's a hard industry to be an actor.
Right.
It is. It's really hard.
Right.
And I went home that night, and I cried. And I grew up in the church, and I just was crying, and I prayed out. I go, "God, if you really want me to be an actor, it's a desire I have so much in my heart. Please give me a sign." And then on my heart came calling this murder mystery dinner theater. Mm-hmm. And I picked up my little phone book, and through my sobs, "When are you having your next auditions?" And they said, "We're actually having them now." Right. Which is interesting because for the past 4 months prior, I've been trying to audition with them, and they weren't auditioning. But that night, the day that I was rejected, that evening they had auditions, and I made the last 30-minute window, and I was cast. And that group of people mentored me, taught me, and then introduced me to the school that I went to, which is actually right over there, the New York Conservatory for Dramatic Arts.
That's a very good school.
It's an amazing school.
Wow.
I, behind my parents' back, and you know, I regret that that's what I did because it would hurt them. But behind their back, I applied to the New York Conservatory for Dramatic Arts, and I called them and I said, I don't have any money, how do I go in? And they said, well, you can audition for a scholarship. And I got my little video camera out, and this was back when things were all on that DV tape thingy.
Right.
And I put a little tripod up and I auditioned myself and I sent it in and I got scholarshiped. And then unfortunately, the summer of 99 going into 2000, I got into a really bad relationship, and they convinced me to go to Virginia. I don't know how much I could share here. And I've never actually spoken about this on in an interview. You know, people come along your life and you never realize when you start to hang out with someone and if they pull you down, you never realize how far down you can go. And I was always an individual that if someone had low self-esteem, I wanted to build them up. And this individual had low self-esteem, and I just really wanted to help them. And they said, well, why don't you come down to Virginia and stay with my relatives? I was competing for the Miss America pageant system at the time, and so I was going to do my platform, which is like a public service thing. And so I chose, well, I'll do it in Virginia on the beach, because I've always wanted to live on the beach for a section, like a section of my life, and so like that made sense. So I went down there, and somehow the individual, and I still don't even understand how it happened, but manipulated the circumstance to make me feel obligated to be in a romantic relationship with the individual. And I don't know how I fell into that, but that's something that I ended up getting almost, later on the therapists were explaining like I was brainwashed, so say. I don't really know how severely that was, but except that being there for a couple weeks, I wanted to remove myself from the situation, and they wouldn't let me. And I came back to school that fall here in New York, and my schoolmates noticed that the light inside of me was just diminished. They're like, Jen, you used to have this candle, and you would shine so bright, but right now it just seems like it's a little flicker. And this individual somehow snuffed out the life within me. And I tried to get away, and then they started to stalk me in Manhattan. I worked at the Russian tea room for a little bit, and I came out, and he'd be there, and he showed up to where I lived and would cry. He would call the school and create suicide pleas. And I remember going home to Pennsylvania the one year, or that Thanksgiving season, and they said, please, it's my birthday, please just come for my birthday, it'll be, be easy. And I went for his birthday, and I actually was held hostage. It was horrible. There was, brought a knife out and the whole deal, and just because I didn't have those feelings for him. This individual was so in love with me, but I didn't love him in that way. He was just a friend, and it was hard for him to accept. And I realized I needed to get back home. My home was Manhattan, that's where my apartment was. And I was held, and I was like, how do I do this? And he agreed to drive me back in because I missed my bus. He didn't get me to the bus in time. And we drove, and he was trying to come on to me again, and I said, I'm sorry. And he went irate, and he almost drove off the side of the road and almost killed us. We pulled over, and I got out of the car and I ran, and he ran after me, and he grabbed me, threw me in the car, and it was a horrible time. And by the time we were crossing into where you saw the skyline of Manhattan in the distance, I knew, okay, I have to appease the individual and let them know that I do love you, just so I could get safely to my destination. And I did, and the individual somehow believed what I was saying, and I just did it and I got to work, and they said, Jen, what happened to you? And the individual ended up leaving me off at the Russian tea room, and they went home, or they stayed, I don't know where they went, but I looked like I went to hell and back. And that following Christmas, I was so traumatized. I ended up going into vertigo, where my body was just dark and spinning, and I went back to school and I couldn't concentrate, I couldn't think. I was really traumatized, and they said that I had post-traumatic disorder. And then I remember being in the counseling offices saying, I want to be an actor, and they're laughing at me in Pennsylvania going, yeah, right, everyone wants to be an actor. And I'm like, no, you have no idea what I did in my life. I've already been to Disney. I've got scholarships in New York. I competed in the Miss America pageant system, and now I'm a vegetable. I can't even walk because my body is spinning, and I needed physical assistance to move places. And I just didn't want to live anymore because I literally felt like a vegetable. And so it was a really dark period of time, and the only thing that got me through was my friends praying for me. And in fact, my friend Laura and her family, my friend Laura who came to the Faith Film Festival, she came from New York out to Pennsylvania when I was in the hospital and prayed with me and gave me scripture verses and sat by my side to help me realize there's hope again. And I finally climbed out of that dark place, but it took a while to get back up on my feet. And I finally did, and finally they found some medicine that I was able to walk straight again.
At any point during this, did you question your faith? Did you have, I mean, that was a dark night of the soul in many ways, much longer than a dark night. So did you question your faith at any point?
Well, I had to, because I didn't want to live anymore. I definitely had the Lord in my life during that time, but I felt so alone. I just felt like a vegetable. I felt like I was trapped in a body that I couldn't do anything. I couldn't walk, and all that passion, I couldn't do anything with it, and I just didn't want to live anymore. And so at that period of time, I don't know if I questioned my faith. I think I mostly questioned myself of not, yeah, I think that's probably what it was. Laura and her family, they helped kind of get my mind back and on God type of a deal. When I moved out west, I started to get involved in the different independent films out west, and I started getting lead roles, and that was a lot of fun.
They had an oath to keep.
You'll never leave me, I promise.
A faith to uphold.
Father, I don't know what to do.
And a destiny to fulfill.
God will never leave us.
Alone, yet not alone.
You won some awards too, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I did. I actually won a Best Actress Award for the first feature film I was a lead of, called Julie and Jack. Yeah. And that was shot in San Francisco, and it was probably as warm as it is right now. But we shot it in the summer.
Yeah.
and then when I moved down to Los Angeles, I was in the 168-Hour Film Festival, and I was also very blessed to win Best Actress Award for a short film called Stained. And that festival is neat. 168 hours is the amount of hours in a week, and each film is a competition, and they get a verse from the Bible, and you have 1 week to write a 10-minute short film based on that verse, and then you have 1 week to shoot it. And the film that I was in was called Stained, which is an allegory of the gospel, like the stain, the crimson sin, the stain of life, a stain of sin. And but during that time when I moved down to I was in Northern Cal, Silicon Valley. I worked for Google for a little bit, and that was really a kick. And then I moved to Santa Monica, Marina Del Rey area in Los Angeles. And I was still at the place, I'm like, God, do you really want me to be an actor? This is hard. How do you get work? And the Lord, no lie, puts it on my heart. I want you to become a background actor. I want you to just start doing background work. And I'm like, I don't do background work. That's a walking what did I call it? A walking light? I was a walking C-stand. That's what I called it, because the C-stand holds lights. Right. As on stage, I called it a walking tree, because you're walking as a background. Okay. So I did background work for a while, and then I did stand-in work, and I learned so much about movie sets.
The clock back 50 years for us. We have to get ready. The next phase will start any second.
My 7-year-old girl's out here somewhere. We need to go and find her.
Welcome, new citizen.
See?
Curfew boundary violation. Deactivating citizen.
And I came to another crossroads in my life. This is a consistent thing, and I am praying, God, where do you want me to be? And a friend of mine, oh my gosh, she's actually now a series regular on Grey's Anatomy. Back then she was on Everwood. And she goes, Jen, why don't you fall back in love with God? And I'm like, I do. I go to Bible study, I go to church, and our Bible study is at Fox Studios. I'm like, I go to Bible study, I go to church, I read the Bible, I'm praying, I do. And she goes, no. Don't fall back in love with the hand of God, of what He's giving you. Fall back in love with who He is. And I kind of wrestled with that, because I do. But then I realized, and my husband's like, Jen, no, you only pray for the desires of your heart. Right. You're constantly praying for acting jobs. You're praying for meeting the right people. You're praying for meeting casting directors, producers, booking jobs. But you're not praying to grow as a human being. And I was like, oh yeah, that feels good. And I realized I needed to grow. So it became a season where I ended up going on our balcony. We lived in Marina Del Rey. We overlooked all the boats. It was so pretty. And I'd go out there and my little latte, and I'd read the Bible. And I started to go through the Old Testament and the New Testament, really learning about the character of God. And my gosh, all of a sudden, I just started to see the Lord for who He is and how He loves us unconditionally, and how He is the creator of all of this beauty, and that we're never alone, that He's before us and behind us and guiding us. And my relationship with God just grew. And there's a verse in the Bible that says, when you seek me and my righteousness, all these things will be added on to you. And that's exactly what happened. Because my husband graduated from Act One, which is was a writing school for filmmakers. And we're going to his graduation. And out of nowhere, I got a phone call from a casting director. Hi, we're casting a Ron Howard movie. We found your photo. We think you look like Trisha Nixon. Can you come in? Do you look like Trisha Nixon? Yes. You're right. I'm like, I don't even know what she looks like. You know, it was before my era of time, you know? And I'm like, I showed up, and they literally cast me based on a photo. No agent submitted the photo. Like, as an actor, normally someone sends a photo to say, take a look at my client. Nobody sent a picture. Yeah. It was as if God sent a photo that casting director found somewhere, and we to this date still have no idea where he found this photo. Do you know how many people in Los Angeles have blonde hair and are Caucasian?
3?
Yeah, right, 3 with a couple zeros at the end. Yeah. It was easier to get hit in the head with a soccer ball on Sunset Boulevard than how I got cast as the president's daughter.
Ron Howard movie, yeah.
And that got nominated for 5 Oscars. And being able to reenact history.
And when my heart's dearest died, the light went from my life forever. That was TR in his 20s. He thought the light had gone out of his life forever, but he went on. He served his country. So I say to all of you, always give your best. Never get discouraged. Never be petty. Thank you very much.
My mom and dad didn't want me to play roles that were, you know, bimbos or, you know, what the blonde character normally plays. Neither did I. And my first breakout role, I got to play a historical figure reenacting history in a story that was fantastic with education and entertainment and nominated for 5 Oscars. And that's what launched my career. And from then, with the help of a very dear friend of mine who passed away a year ago, I've been the lead of 9 feature films, and all of them have a similar value to them. They all inspire or impact, and they all have a Christian worldview to them, meaning sin is ugly, and evil is evil, and good is good, and it really helps people want to be better people.
The Mojave Desert, we are going to build a casino resort.
What's the catch?
Graham Ministries owns 1,000 acres right in the middle of it. I need you to drive up to the Mojave. Do not leave his side without signing those documents.
And at what point did you want to, or did you try to focus on faith-based films, or is that something that started from the beginning?
Well, what is a faith-based film?
That is a good question. Why don't you tell me that?
For me, a faith-based film is a movie that exemplifies what God's word is in the Bible. So Jesus spoke in parables. He never said, do A, B, and C. No, he said, here, I'm going to throw some seeds will grow, some seeds will land in thorns. And that teaches us when God comes into our life, we can land in soil that grows, or we can land in soil and then grow and then be quenched by thorns, because he always spoke in parables. So I take that back to what is a faith-based film, and I think it's a movie that brings in values that give back to mankind, values that we see Jesus teaching. I don't necessarily, in fact, I think it's a religious film. I think that should be a topic. Like, religious film would be stories of the Bible,
right?
Told cinematically, like Noah or Passion of the Christ. I think that would be a good religious movie because it talks about the Bible. It's faith-based. I really feel like it should be topics in the Bible that we see lived through mankind. Oh my gosh, the Bible is dealing with prostitutes and tax collectors that are bad people, and like Saul is killing Christians, right? And then he has a life-changing experience, turns to Paul, but he was a bad guy. He's a bad guy, dude. He was like Hitler, killing people, and God said, dude, I'm gonna shake you up, drop scales off your eyes, and he had a conversion in his heart, realizing, oh my God, there's something bigger out there than me. And he changed his way. Well, that life story, I think, is a faith-based, because it's someone understanding that there's something bigger out there and that they're loved unconditionally. So, we hear about Courageous. The Kendrick brothers have done some amazing movies that really pioneered a market. Courageous, Fireproof, Facing the Giants. I see those almost as 3-point sermon movies. It's taking a sermon message that you would hear at church and put through a movie where there's almost an altar call, and that's good when you want to teach the flock. Because I really think you need to teach the flock. But I also think faith-based movies like Doonby are movies that teach the world, where it's not preaching, it's not telling people this is what I want you to believe, because the Bible, God gives us freedom of choice. We have the freedom of choice. Right. And so I think faith-based movies have storylines that give the viewer the freedom of choice to choose what they want, and they see what light looks like and what darkness looks like, what good looks like, what evil looks like, and allow them to choose for themselves. And we're in a new era, and that's what I'm so excited about, that being a part of 9 different films since 2010, and all of them fall under a faith-based category. The only one I'm in that's sermon-like is I Am Gabriel, which is about prayer, and is very clear about an angel coming and teaching you to pray.
You were recently here in New York for the Faith Film Festival. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, Doonby, one of the films that I'm in with John Schneider, we came on out here, and Joe Estevez, who plays my dad in the movie, and him and Will Wallace opened the opportunity, so we showed Doonby out here at the Faith Film Festival, and Quentin Aaron was out here, and Just such a great time. Really neat time to be able to bring this movie to Brooklyn. For me, it's neat because I went to school in Manhattan for acting, and one of my friends that was instrumental in my walk with God, I met her in New York, and her parents came to the Faith Film Festival and saw the first movie that I was in as a main lead. Good night, Sam Doonby.
Good night, Laura Reaper.
So it started in the East Coast, I moved to West Coast, and then it was kind of like a neat bookend of my career launching on the East Coast here in Brooklyn, if that ties that all makes sense. It's interesting, right?
It ties it in very
special.
nicely.